Hi, I'm Kirsten McLaughlin, Market Vice President of Cox Communications, and this is Community Connection. Today we have Kyle Ashby and Lisa Riolo from Startup Santa Barbara. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
And Lisa, I'd be remiss if I did not also say you are from the Work Zones as well.
Yeah, that's one of the businesses I've co-founded, and we're really excited. We're coming up on our third anniversary soon.
Fantastic, congratulations.
Thank you.
Kyle, why don't we start with telling our viewers a little bit about Startup SB?
Sure. Startup SB started in about 2010. It's a membership-based organization that grew out of meetup.com. We just hit our 1700th and first person in the group this last week, which is great.
Congratulations.
We try to run an event a month. We do about 9 or 10 a year, depending on the year. Most of the events are around focus on a startup or focus on an entrepreneur or focus on a topic that interests entrepreneurs and startups. Get some experts in to come talk about it, open it up to the group, and just try to help people learn, help people connect, and celebrate what's going on in the community.
That's fantastic.
Keyword celebrate.
Yep, a lot of celebrating.
All right.
And Lisa, how did you get involved with Startup SB?
Well, I've known Kyle. We actually worked together back in, I think, like 2001 or something, or 2002, something like that, at a local tech company. And so we stayed in touch over the time, and I hadn't really gotten as involved in entrepreneurial efforts until I left that company in 2006. And then at that point, Kyle had already started the process of getting other entrepreneurs together, and so and then we did some speaking engagements, and I caught the bug and started co-founding businesses here. So that's we've been associated with the business for quite a while.
Yeah.
So what are some of the main challenges that local entrepreneurs face when starting businesses here in the community?
I think a lot of it is around, what I found is finding people to help them along the way. We've got a great mentor network here now. It didn't really exist 5, 6, 7 years ago. Just finding those people is tough. Finding help on your team, finding resources to get your business started. That's one of the goals of Startup SB, along with a lot of the other organizations in town that are around to help support entrepreneurs. And then a lot of it is connecting outside of our community, helping find ways to sell products outside of Santa Barbara, outside of California, and grow the company outside of our little community here, which is sometimes small, I guess. That's a good word for it.
So can you expand on that a little bit, how you connect with other startup organizations and entrepreneurs in California, around the country, et cetera?
Sure. We one of the interesting things we tried here, going back now about 5 years ago, was Startup Weekend, which is a global network of events all over the world, which was at the time part of Up Global, which had some other events associated with it. And once you go through that weekend-long process, you're able to connect with a network of entrepreneurs outside of your town, all over the world. There's events going on all over the U.S. and all over the world, with people in the same stage with their own companies, which all try to help each other along the way. So that was a first step. Startup America was another initiative that started in the White House and then grew outside of that to connect entrepreneurs all over the U.S. And that's been reorganized as a group called the Startup Champions Network, who we just had in Santa Barbara about at the beginning of February here for a summit, so that we introduced them to our network of entrepreneurs here. So just giving entrepreneurs a chance to connect with community leaders and other leading entrepreneurs around the U.S. and the world.
That's great. And what are some of the most exciting things happening around entrepreneurship here in the community?
Go ahead.
Well, I think I was just going to say, Kyle brought up about bringing others from outside the community in. Yeah. And one of the reasons I think that's so important is, as an entrepreneur, is you will find that there are other entrepreneurs, but they're at different stages in their startup. And so when you get to connect with people who have gone through the process before or are going through it. And so one of the exciting things that's happening, Kyle in particular, is bringing people from other parts of the country. And so when they are in similar population sizes, they're maybe not in a major market. A lot of people will think, hey, if you're getting started in New York or Boston or even San Francisco, there's all these resources available to you. But really, Santa Barbara is rich with resources. You just need to know what to look for. So I think bringing his recent event where he brought people from all over the community was really great. Our local entrepreneurs got to tell stories about what they've been doing to build their businesses and ask questions. And and hearing from other community organizers about how to get connected to financing, how to build a team, what other types of resources to look for. You don't just go out there and get the money and then build. You've got to market it. You got to do customer validation, and so understanding what to look for. And then it turns out that there's quite a bit of those resources here in Santa Barbara. It's pretty amazing, actually. So that's what's exciting is that you're able to find people who are involved with product development, people who are involved with software development. There's so many great resources. We've seen a lot of lifestyle oriented businesses that are getting going, and I think that's
pretty exciting,
phenomenal here in Santa Barbara.
And I think the other interesting thing too is some of these companies that have been around and grown from start to finish, like Lynda.com, or have gotten funding from outside of the community, like Tracker. People around the U.S. and world are taking notice of that and saying, oh, something's going on in Santa Barbara, I want to go see, and they come to visit and go, oh my gosh, there's so much going on here. There's a lot of talent, there's a lot of people I can connect with. I'm coming back. And then you see them coming back a couple months later to move here, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's a great community to live in, and they realize that and see that perfect intersection between great businesses getting started and I think a great place to live, wonderful community. So, yeah.
So I know here at Cox we have built a partnership with Startup SB in a way to connect our Cox business team with young entrepreneurs in the community. How would you suggest other businesses get involved?
There are, and thank you for that too, it's great. We're excited to have you at the next couple events and all the next year. There are so many great events here in town, whether it's ours or the MIT Enterprise Forum. There's events at UCSB and City College, great places to connect. Find young entrepreneurs, find people that may want to join your team if you're building or have an established business or building a business. People like to get together in this community, and there's some great places to do it that revolve around entrepreneurship. That was the first place I'd go. UCSB, City College are two great resources as well for events.
That's great. So you both have been in this entrepreneurial space for a while. I bet you have some great stories. Would you like to share some of your favorite stories?
Well, I think one thing that's interesting is that there are so many other businesses around us that are also starting, and we've actually had a couple generations now. So what you see is there's so many students coming out of UCSB, and they have wonderful ideas, but they don't necessarily have the experience, so they're looking for mentors. Then you see people who have been part of one of these successful startups that have really had an exit, if you will, and are made really great gains financially for people. So they want to go back to, I want to be part of a startup. So I think, at least for me personally, I've already been involved with a couple and helped co-found or been in an advisory capacity for a number of companies. And what I see, which is really exciting, is the gray hairs combined with those that are just getting out of school. And there's a place for everyone and a level of enthusiasm. I've seen people change their focus. So they maybe were in a sales environment and they've gone and learned how to code. You see people who are software that want to get involved with the business piece. You see people who had a passion for food or all these breweries in the wine country, and so you see a lot of change that gets introduced, innovation that gets introduced, and I think being so close to that is awesome. I don't know what you think, but those are some of the fun parts of being here.
Yeah, some of the great parts. I have a really interesting story that happened to me a couple weeks ago. A friend of mine that I'd known since I was a kid, and we used to share a paper route, which is pretty entrepreneurial as a kid. Part of this global entrepreneurial network, and he became part of the group, and I hadn't talked to him in years, and all of a sudden there he is. I was like, wow, this town's too small, this world is too small, he doesn't live here anymore, but it was just great to see that he's doing entrepreneurial things and part of the group.
That's great.
Yeah.
So there's this roots of, pretty creative entrepreneurial folks in town that whether or not they stay here, they're ending up in different communities doing interesting things.
Mm-hmm. And Lisa, you mentioned all the different sort of verticals that you all work with, the restaurant and wine industry, probably the hotel industry. I think you mentioned the lifestyle industry. Mm-hmm. So where do you all see most of the businesses coming through, the startup businesses coming through?
Santa Barbara's got a great software background. There's all kinds of SaaS companies, all kinds of software companies. That's a huge industry here. Mm-hmm. We also have, a gigantic lifestyle business community, whether it's because we all like to get out and surf and enjoy the mountains. You know, we got everyone from Patagonia and Ventura to Deckers and some original skateboard companies. Peralta's right down the street here. In town, so there's a lot of that. I think there's almost like a second or third or fourth wave of that coming up right now, which is really interesting. And then the breweries are blowing up right now, which is great, and tech and other ideas around breweries and beer and craft wine and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think wellness is really a good one. You'll see health tech, so the application of technology to healthy lifestyle, healthy living. But you also see a lot of nutritionists, fitness, and those people are also starting small businesses. So there's that spirit of entrepreneurship that comes through on that. I also think that one thing that's wonderful about Santa Barbara and that we do transport outside of our area is sustainability, the social awareness and movement. We've got the Earth Day coming up, and you can see that there's a lot of commerce and businesses that are plugged into that, but they're also very aware of what's important with respect to keeping our lifestyle the way that it is. So, and traveling around through other communities, you do that a lot more than I do, but I think seeing that this is what's unique to Santa Barbara and that you can come in and keep your values and your goals aligned with the businesses that are getting going, I think that's really fantastic.
So as we wrap up our last few minutes here, what would you tell people who are interested in learning more about Startup SB and maybe getting involved?
I would say take a look first at our website. Our events are all listed there. We've got a couple coming up in April, May, June.
Can anyone come to your
Anyone
events?
can come. It's not just startups. The group is really diverse. It's students all the way up to CEOs. It's really depends on the topic that we're talking about who shows up, which is really unique. We see a lot of different people at each event, so don't be discouraged and just come on out and meet some great people. The events are the best place to meet. It's a lot of networking, but it's also about an hour of great content every time we meet.
That's great.
Yeah, and I think you asked that question earlier about what are ways for businesses to get involved. One of the things that I see that Startup SB really brings to the table is bringing startup businesses or early stage businesses, and even those that have been around for a few years, and they're always looking for talent. So there's always young people and people moving into the community that are looking for jobs. So I think that's one of the important parts of showing up to these events is that depending on the location, you might get some exposure to some of the local companies that might be hiring. I know you've had some really good success with that. And I think really just looking for ways to connect to other entrepreneurs. And what I'm always excited about is seeing when people, sort of what you said about they want to be involved and then they take those first steps and the next thing you know, they're either hired or they're starting their own businesses or they got something on the side. And I think that's the part that's so great for our community. It brings talent in.
Right.
It keeps the other businesses that maybe they've been around for many, many years, but they're just looking for some innovative new ways of thinking. So, hire great talent.
Yep.
I think your events are one of the best places for those connections.
Well, thank you, and congratulations on all the success of Startup SB. It sounds like you're just going to continue to grow.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having us and thanks for helping us out.
Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
And thank you. Until next time, this is Community Connection.